Hey, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most unsettling and mysterious cases in recent memory, a story filled with lies, betrayal, and dark secrets. Now, let's get started. There's a name that still sends chills through the streets of Cape Town. A name so terrifying that it still haunts the minds of those who remember. Jimmy Maketta, but you may know him by another name. The Jesus Killer. Born in the mid-1960s in the poverty-stricken outskirts of South Africa's Western Cape, Jimmy Maketta's life was shaped by dysfunction. Raised in a chaotic family of 15 children, his world was one of neglect, addiction, and violence. But what was truly terrifying wasn't just his surroundings, it was the darkness that began to consume him. As a young boy, signs of his disturbing tendencies were already clear. Psychologists warn that the most notorious criminals often display early signs of psychopathy like cruelty to animals, arson, and bedwetting. And for young Jimmy, his cruelty started with animals' acts of torture and, in some cases, even sexual abuse. He wasn't just acting out, he was beginning his descent into something far more sinister. By his 20s, Maketta had already begun his descent into violence. He left home, drifting through petty crimes and living in the shadows. But his first marriage to Janetta appeared to be a turning point, or so it seemed. Together, they had 3 sons, and for a time, Maketta played the role of the doting father and loving husband. They'd go on family outings. They'd spend Saturdays watching rugby. But this brief period of calm would soon unravel. What Janetta didn't see coming was the darkness that simmered beneath the surface. During their honeymoon, something snapped. A violent argument escalated, and Maketta physically assaulted her. Over the years, the violence worsened, stabbings, broken bones. His cruelty was unrelenting. Eventually, Janetta escaped, taking their children with her. But this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. In 2000, Maketta committed his first murder. A woman, alone with her child, was ambushed in a remote area. The act was savage, chilling in its brutality. It would become the catalyst for a horrific spree that would last 4 years. By 2005, Maketta had become a predator, stalking his victims through the streets and fields of Philippi. He chose his victims carefully. When they drunk, were vulnerable. In just 9 months, from April to December 2005, he claimed the lives of 16 men and women. In the beginning, Maketta's attacks seemed random: lone women, people walking home after drinking. But as the bodies piled up, a pattern began to emerge. The fear in Philippi grew, but the police remained silent. They refused to acknowledge that a serial killer was on the loose. The residents of Philippi were left to fend for themselves. They formed neighborhood watch groups, organized vigilantes, and took turns watching each other's homes. But the terror didn't stop. And then came the signature, a haunting detail that would give Maketta his chilling nickname. Survivors of his attacks reported seeing the word Jesus written on his forehead, sometimes in ash, sometimes in charcoal. The press had a field day with this, dubbing him the Jesus Killer. But there was something even more unnerving. Some sources later claimed that Maketta had a Jesus tattoo. But when he was finally arrested, it was revealed there was no tattoo, just a mind consumed by violence. In December 2005, after months of terror, the breakthrough came. The police found a cell phone on one of the crime scenes. It led them to a number that traced back to a small town called Grabu. And from there, they learned of a man named Jimmy Maketta. The predator who had terrorized Philippi was finally caught. On December 20, 2005, Jimmy Maketta was arrested. His cold, emotionless confession sent shivers down the spine of everyone who heard it. He spoke with chilling indifference, as if recounting the details of his crimes was just another day at the office. And when the trial began, it became clear that Maketta's demeanor was every bit as terrifying as his actions. Calm, detached, unfeeling, he pled guilty to 47 charges, including 16 murders, 19 assaults, and 2 kidnappings. Despite all these gruesome acts done, he only received 25 years and is set to be released in June 2033. His sentence was widely considered far too lenient, sparking outrage among the families of his victims. And yet, during his time in prison, Maketta would claim that he had found redemption, that he had found Jesus, which is ironic on its own. Thank you for watching. Please take care, stay safe, and never forget to trust your instincts.